Feminists like to say that a woman gets raped every 2 minutes. And do you know what that means? That means that just today, I've avoided rape 720 times. Not bad for a whole day's non-work. Stop playing break free from your chains, to break free from your cage. What we don't want to do is go back to a traditionalist world. I'm Diana Davison. I'm going to start doing some videos about domestic violence and specifically about female violence, as the feminists have tried to suppress it and the history of such. And I'm going to look into a television series called Snapped, in which they follow the trials of women who have either successfully killed their husband or tried to do so. And they come from a wide variety of backgrounds, which is what makes this an interesting case study. It's gone on for 14 seasons, so it's not like saying, oh, just there's this one psychopathic woman who did something really unusual and everybody's going to just focus their attention on it. Because this is how feminists like to talk about women doing things like making false accusations. They say, well, they've taken one case and they've blown it out of proportion. We've got 14 seasons of case studies of women who have either successfully killed, well, not successfully because they went to jail, or have attempted to kill their husbands. And there's some really great footage in this series because it's fairly modern and they've been able to go into the courtrooms. And there's videotape from police stations showing the women's deceptive faces on them. And you can't just write them off as being just specific psychopaths because there's just far too many of them. And the motives behind these attempted killings are really, really small. It basically is based on trying to get money out of it or trying to move on to a new lover, and they don't value the life of the man that they're with at the time highly enough to think about their murder being something other than just discarding an appliance. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about this, and a friend of mine has actually helped me out by doing some research on some of the episodes. But before we go there, I want to actually just talk about relationships specifically and what I think they are and why people engage in romantic relationships. Romantic relationships, the idea of romance has only been around since the 16th century, and I'm going to link to a Psychology Today article below, which points out all the evidence for that. So here's my assessment. When you attach yourself to another human being, you are essentially creating a witness to your life. Because you are a mental construct. You are nothing but the stories of your experiences. And when you meet somebody who's a friend or a romantic partner, you fill them up with all the stories of your life. And this is basically the first 3 months of any sort of relationship. You just go on about, and I had this experience that was really meaningful to me or shaped part of who I am, and you share that with the other person. And if it's a good relationship, we respond really positively to those stories. You're like, wow, that's so fascinating. And this is why you choose this person to then dump your life story into. Once you've done that, it's a sunk cost. That person becomes extremely important to you. And be it a friend or be it a romantic partner to you, you've now invested time in this. And if that person betrays you or walks away from you, then you have to start all over again with another person. And romantic relationships in a heterosexual capacity, you get some sort of a satisfaction and sexual validation from that person too, in that you're a procreatively interesting person. But ultimately, I think psychologically that these relationships are formed because you want to create an immortality base for yourself where you have a witness to the value of your life and who you were. So if you suddenly die, get hit by a car tomorrow, this other person knows who you were, and they will carry your legacy, the memory of your life forward, and they'll attest to that you were there and that you were a great person, or an interesting person at least. And so that's the basis for relationships. Now, with romantic relationships, you get this sort of a strange drug effect from all the endorphins and so on that go on, and that morph your vision of the person you're dealing with. And I think that most people watching here can say that they thought they were in love with somebody, and then once they came to understand that person better, their vision entirely changed to the point where you can actually see somebody who you once thought was attractive, and when you look at them, all you see is some sort of a fucking gremlin, right? So there are drug effects that take place in our relationships with each other. And a lot of that is sexually based. MGTOW has an interesting approach to dealing with this problem. MGTOW are not just saying that they will walk away from marriage, which is a social construct of approval. They are also asking men to look deeper into themselves and their motivations, and to come to terms with their own lack of self-respect and their own insecurities. This is what I like about MGTOW. I was originally drawn into the men's rights movement because I have grown up with women, and I know what it is they use to manipulate men, and I know that they're not going to change unless men stop marrying these fucking bitches. That's my phrase. You got to stop marrying these bitches if you want anything to change. In the same way, the MRM is not going to have one whit of difference socially by just attacking, feminists like Jessica Valenti or, people saying stupid shit online, because nobody cares what they're saying. As long as men keep marrying these bitches, they're going to keep going. And the MRM, as a broad perspective, is only fighting a battle that might potentially win generations down the road. MGTOW is making personal changes in people's lives that is meaningful in a way that helps men right now. They are actually helping people right now. And that's why I am really, really defensive when people attack MGTOW and what they're doing as a movement. Now, one of the things I see being used to temper the current conversation about what men can do to improve their lot in life, make them not slaves to women, not slaves to gynocentrism, and give them some control over their destinies, is discussions about biology and chemistry and all this other stuff, and deterministic kind of conversations. And I think that MGTOW itself is evidence that people can change, that, there's not a certain class of people who are able to be hermits or a certain class of people who are able to overcome their instincts. I think that if you take something like, for example, Peter Wright has written an article in A Voice for Men about attachment theory. And he did so in a way that says that you are now subjected to attachment theory and you can't escape it. And the MGTOW community that I enjoy, that I watch, says, here's this thing called attachment theory. And if you understand it, then you can break free from it. You can solve problems. You can heal yourself. You can change the way you are. And I challenge anybody who says that a person who is acting on instinct and is doing things destructive to themselves in their life can't change, because people do it all the time. One of the things that enables them to do so is to understand their motivations and the social constructs that are working against them, and to understand their own psychology. And these psychological aspects that may be in the way of men trying to break free from this life of self-sacrifice they've been raised to do, because men's lives have always been secondary to the lives of women and children. And there's a really great damage that happens in your sense of the value of who you are as a person when your life comes secondary to other people. Maybe not to children, but if your life is secondary to women's, then that means that women have a higher status to you. This has always been true. In history, men have always sacrificed their lives to save women and children. And right now, this is an exciting time, because men are actually going to reject that concept and start valuing their own lives as important individuals. And that's what MGTOW is working towards, and that's why I support MGTOW. But what about the children? What about the children? All these men that you're talking to, they were children once too. And they deserve a chance at a real life. So that's my message to you this week, is to think about what relationships are to you, why you seek them, and to really think about alternatives and things that are supportive of you as an individual and as a person of value in a world of meaning. You don't need to get this through romantic relationships. And if you're looking to find out what MGTOW is about, men going their own way, the place you should be looking is the YouTube community. That's where MGTOW lives. And now for the Rape Chick of the Week. In Canada, the Jedi religion is recognized. 21,000 of us say that's what we follow. So when you find yourself in court, you can say, "Yes, Your Honor, I used the Force. It's my religion."